Years! 4 more years! 4 more years!
Y'all really freaking my daughter out.
You go, girl.
Listen, thank you so much for that introduction. Thank you, Congressman. Thank you, Alderman Harris, Representative Robinson, all of you who joined here today. I'm honestly quite full. I'm full. It has been the honor and privilege of my life to serve as Cook County State's Attorney. It has, for me, a girl who grew up in Cabrini, the child of a single mother who was 17 when she had me and 18 when she had my brother, to stand here at Black History Month as the first African American woman elected in this position, coming from where I come from. Is no small feat. And people ask me, why do I do what I do? Why did I choose this route? And it's because it was no small feat that a girl like me from Cabrini could grow up and go to law school, graduate, and find a career in public service. That a girl like me, who's been a survivor of sexual abuse and sexual assault, who saw people hurt and hurt others, who knew people who had been shot and those who had pulled a trigger, someone like me who understood what the real impact of poverty and neglect looks like on families, someone like me who, as a student in high school at Lincoln Park, bless their hearts right now, was struggling when we had no home to go to and would show up in class every day doing my best. Somebody like me could have this job. And what I know about that is that every day in every neighborhood, there are young people who have the potential to do amazing things. And so many of those young people we find caught up in a system of violence where they're dying in our streets and they look just like me and my brother and my cousins. And there's so many of our young people who end up in a criminal justice system that has for so long disproportionately impacted them, that our futures are locked behind bars for silly and trivial things. That for me, this job has meant an opportunity to show up in the fullness of every life experience that I've had and have that level of empathy and compassion for everyone who comes through our system. And for some people, it's not just about the fact that I've come into this role and you don't see many people who look like me who do it, but that I do it unapologetically as a Black girl from Cabrini. This narrative that some people would try to establish about who I am and what I represent flies in the face of everything that you know about me. This narrative that somehow she has two systems of justice for those that have and those that have not, somehow being told by a person who has. I just want to think about the cognitive dissonance of a billionaire's son trying to establish that I have favorable attention for those that look like him and not for the people who look like this.
That's right. That's right.
That those who would try to talk and distract us when talking about one case but not the thousand. So I just want to remind you for a moment who I am and what we have done.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, when I came into this office in 2016, we were known as the false confession capital of the United States. There was a story on 60 Minutes that talked about the number of wrongfully convicted who had sat in our prisons for decades, and we all knew it. We paid hundreds of millions of dollars in cases of police misconduct over the years, and we knew what John Burge had done. We knew what Watts had done, and yet we didn't do anything affirmatively to do something about it. We reinvigorated our conviction integrity unit. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We went from the false confession capital of the United States to leading the country the last 2 years in vacating wrongful convictions.
Right. Yes.
Over 80 men and women who were wrongfully convicted getting their lives back. Years in 2017, when we had that bloody year, it turns out, ladies and gentlemen, while our children were dying in our streets, that we were spending most of our resources on nonviolent offenses. That when I tell people that we had over 760 people murdered in the city of Chicago, over 4,000 people shot, that the number one referred prosecution in Cook County was retail theft, was shoplifting, And what they will tell you is that she doesn't care about shoplifters. People aren't going to go into your shops if they're afraid of getting shot on the way.
Right.
And if we're not doing anything about guns, if we're not focusing our attention on every life that is lost, we are spinning our wheels. And every life matters to me. And so we raised the threshold and we focused our attention on violent crime. We put lawyers in our most hardest hit neighborhoods. We started in Inglewood. We went to Lawndale. We're in Austin. We're in 5 different neighborhoods. And everywhere we put a lawyer working hand in hand with law enforcement, we saw a decrease in violent crime. That's not an accident. That's called innovation. That's called using our minds and our hearts to put our resources where they belong. In 2017, while we were doing that, we did something else. I said, I need attorneys to go out into our neighborhoods to fight violent crime. So you know what else we're going to do? We're going to stop doing silly prosecutions. And I'll say it was silly. We were prosecuting people for driving on suspended licenses because they couldn't pay their tickets. Let me tell you how silly that is. You can't afford to pay your ticket. And so I'm going to take your driver's license that will prevent you from going to work to get money to pay your ticket. And then I'm going to prosecute you and potentially put you in jail to make you pay a bail to get the money to pay for a ticket so you can get your driver's license back and go to work.
That's right. That's right.
That beautiful mind math that we were doing. And disproportionately, the poor people who couldn't pay those tickets look like this room. They were poor black and brown people getting records, convictions for poverty. And we said in 2017 we were going to stop doing that, and we did. And ladies and gentlemen, people came for me. They came for me. She's not applying the law. Well, I'm here to tell you that there are some things that are just morally unjust.
Right.
And as a prosecutor, my job, my mandate is to do justice. That was not justice. And when we did that in 2017, they came. But guess what? In 2019, the city council voted to stop suspending people's licenses. And in 2020, just last month, the governor signed the License to Drive Act that will now reinstate 55,000 people with their driver's license. Now, I remind you, we started that in 2017. And people say to me that you don't have the right to change laws. You should wait until the legislature does it. I'm here to tell you that sometimes you got to go first to let people know that the sky won't fall and justice will rise. And that's what happened with that. I'm going to talk about the largest piece of legislation that we did. When we legalized marijuana in Illinois, I don't know what you do in your spare time. This was not about the ability to smoke weed. You do what you do. What I know is that the war on drugs ravished our communities. The war on drugs and people being arrested and incarcerated for marijuana offenses disproportionately impacted black and brown communities to the tune of 7-1. And when I saw John Boehner on the news 2 years ago talking about he was investing in a weed company, I said to myself, oh, absolutely not. And so I said we weren't going to prosecute marijuana offenses. And then I said something else. Not only were we not going to prosecute those offenses, we were going to vacate the convictions of anybody who had a marijuana conviction for an amount that was now going to become legal. And people said it couldn't be done. And I'm going to tell you, I didn't know how we were going to do it. But again, my job is about justice. And there's something morally unjust about people being able to profit from the very thing that has incarcerated so many. And so we worked over the course of months and found a partnership that would help us do that. And we sat at the table with representatives like Lamont Robinson and Cam Buckner to draft legislation that is historic, unlike anything we've seen in this state and quite frankly this country. We are the only legislative body that said when we legalized marijuana that everybody would have the opportunity to have their records expunged. Everybody would have the opportunity to have it expunged. And I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, when January 1st was coming, it was important to me before they sold that first joint, that first gummy, that first brownie.
That's right.
That we vacated those convictions before they started. That no one would be able to profit while those convictions hung over the heads of those And I just want to give you a quick reminder of why that was important. On December 31st, 6 hours before those dispensaries opened, they had everybody on the news. And December 31st, it's cold in Chicago. They had tents and hand warmers and hot chocolate, and people was out there jubilant. They had music. They was getting it. 6 hours before the dispensaries opened. What I know from people that I know from college, let's say. First time marijuana users aren't standing in line for 6 hours on a December night in Chicago waiting for a dispensary to open up. I just know that. And what I also know is those people said they could finally come out of the shadows. What I also know is I've never seen as much diversity in a marijuana line than what I saw in that line tonight. Those weren't the people we were prosecuting. Those weren't the people at Cook County Jail. And so when this narrative about who it is that I serve the people. From bond reform to conviction integrity to marijuana to putting our resources on guns, it has been about our communities. And you're right, the work has just begun. And it's been hard. It's been hard. I have my daughter here, who don't look at her all at once because she'll be like, you made her look at me. Who we had a heart-to-heart today about how hard this has been for our family. This last year has been incredibly difficult. And I have said from the beginning, I will be held account for what happens in my office. Both the vitriol that I have seen, and I want to remind us all what we're working with here. Because I don't want us to feel lax about what's happening, why every single phone call matters, why every door knock matters, why every post matters. That this has been elevated into this thing about this one case that allowed for white nationalists to march on my office on April 1st. That this one case that has led to people sending death threats to me and to my family that people haven't wanted to talk about, but I'm going to say it in here. That if you believe that people care about empire that much that they're trying to kill me for it, stop the foolishness.
Right.
That's not what this is about. So when your friends and neighbors are talking about this case, you ask them, why have people been so riled up about this when we were the false confession capital of the United States?
Right. Yes.
Where was this righteous anger when we were locking up people for crimes they didn't commit? Where was this righteous anger when we were paying almost $1 billion in police misconduct? Where was this righteous anger where people were coming to march on my office about a case? Ladies and gentlemen, it's because what we're doing in Cook County is infectious. What you said that you wanted in 2016 allowed for someone like me to win on a platform of justice reform. And then what happened is somebody got elected like me in Philadelphia, and then in Boston, and then in Orlando, and then in San Francisco.
Right. Woo!
That when you watch presidential debates and everybody from Bernie to Buttigieg to Bloomberg all say you have a criminal justice reform platform that wants to legalize marijuana and vacate convictions. Where we do that at?
Hey!
They say they want to stop criminalizing poverty and prosecuting people for driving on suspended license. Where they do that at?
Hey!
They said they wanted to end cash bail and have bail reform. Where they do that at?
Hey!
They said that they want to do all the things that we have already done here. And so, there is a movement to stop the progress. There's a movement to stop the progress. And so I'm in for it. My family is in for it. They have signed up for this work because it's too important for us to go back. You don't just show up all of a sudden and say that you're a progressive. You don't take advantage of our communities and try to come in as heroes. That offends me. I am offended by those who come in and pretend as though they've loved us, but they never showed up for us.
Right.
Yes, Kim. We voted for Kim. And so what I want to say to all of you is you got to be fired up. You've got to be fired up. You've got to be fired up. This is the race. And I know on the national level we're getting discouraged because of what's happening in the White House, and we're going to fix that. But what's happening here,
we fix it.
we fixing it. But I need you. I need every phone call. I need every door knock. I need every post. I need you all to stay fired up.
You got
it. Not to go by the way of the okie doke, because they're counting on us to not be fired.
Woo! Yes!
Give me one more minute because it's hot up in here. So I'm proud to have served you all unapologetically as the person that I am. You have my absolute commitment that our work has just begun and I'm in for this fight. For those of you who asked how I did it, it's a Peloton and a diet. And I'm running, because Sophia saw me running. It's to keep me ready. I'm ready for this fight. I'm in the shape of my life for this fight. And I know that I got my squad with me. Let's go and let's get this done. Thank y'all.